Hello, everyone. It is Black History Month, and I usually just do all kinds of things all throughout the year, but um, I really want to deal with Black women, and they seem to be in a crunch and a bind, and they seem to be coming apart at the seams. Um, and so I was reading from Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, but I want to just read through it. For the rest of the month, I'm just going to read through Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. I'm going to start and just keep reading and see how far we get so that we can deal with some of these issues. Some of the issues that we have stem from slavery, some kept going. I think the concepts are the same. So, you know, in this country, it's sad enough, everything leads back to race, and race is not a real concept, it's a made up one. So, it's sad in a way that everything leads to something that's not real, and that we're willing to expend all that we have to keep something that's not real going. Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, 7 Years Concealed. Childhood. I was born a slave, but I never knew it till 6 years of happy childhood had passed away. My father was a carpenter and considered so intelligent and skillful in his trade that when buildings out of the common line were to be erected, he was sent for, for from he was sent for from long distances, to be head workman, on condition of paying his mistress $200 a year and supporting himself. He was allowed to work at his trade and manage his own affairs. His strongest wish was to purchase his children, but though several times offered his hard earnings for that purpose, he never succeeded. In complexion, my parents were a light shade of brownish yellow, and were termed mulattoes. They lived together in a comfortable home, and though we were all slaves, I was so fondly shielded that I never dreamed I was a piece of merchandise, trusted to them for safekeeping and liable to be demanded of them at any moment. I had one brother, William, who was 2 years younger than myself, a bright, affectionate child. I had also a great treasure in my maternal grandmother, who was a remarkable woman in many respects. She was the daughter of a planter in South Carolina who at his death left her mother and his three children free, with money to go to St. Augustine, where they had relatives. It was during the Revolutionary War, and they were captured on their passage, carried back, and sold to different purchasers. Such was the story my grandmother used to tell me, but I do not remember all the particulars. She was a little girl when she was captured and sold to the keeper of a large hotel. I have often heard her tell how hard she fared during childhood, but as she grew older she evinced so much intelligence and was so faithful that her master and mistress could not help seeing it was for their interest to take care of such a valuable piece of property. She became an indispensable personage in the household, officiating in all capacities, from cook and wet nurse to seamstress. She was much praised for her cooking, and her nice crackers became so famous in the neighborhood that many people were desirous of obtaining them. In consequence of numerous requests of this kind, she asked permission of her mistress to bake crackers at night after all the household work was done, and she obtained leave to do it, provided she would clothe herself, and her children from the profits. Upon these terms, after working hard all day for her mistress, she began her midnight baking, assisted by her two eldest children. The business proved profitable, and each year she laid by a little, which was saved for a fund to purchase her children. Her master died, and the property was divided among his heirs. The widow had her dower in the hotel, which she continued to keep open. My grandmother remained in her service as a slave, but her children were divided among her master's children, as she had five. Benjamin, the youngest one, was sold in order that each heir might be an equal portion of dollars and cents. There was so little difference in our ages that he seemed more like my brother than my uncle. He was a bright, handsome lad, nearly white, for he inherited the complexion my grandmother had derived from Anglo-Saxon ancestors. Though only 10 years old, $720 were paid for him. His sale was a terrible blow to my grandmother, but she was naturally hopeful and she went to work with renewed energy, trusting in time to be able to purchase some of her children. She had laid up $300, which her mistress one day begged as a loan, promising to pay her soon. The reader probably knows that no promise or written given to a slave is legally binding, for according to Southern law, a slave being property can hold no property. When my grandmother lent her hard earnings to her mistress, she trusted solely to her honor, the honor of a slaveholder to a slave. One of the things we have to stop doing is stop shielding our children. Because you're going to find out this girl didn't even know what she was until 6 or 7 years old. And I see a lot of black teenagers and a lot of black college graduates who don't have no idea who they are and what this society is or was. Now, after 2020, this is becoming something different. We're moving from a plantation society to something different. But that doesn't mean we're going to fare better. That just means we're free, but we could be free to starve to death. It all depends on what we put together for ourselves and how we take our place, and I always say this, at the table of humanity. Black Americans are a distinct group bound together by certain traumas, certain turmoils, but also bound together by an abolitionist energy and a justice energy. And to lose us, you may lose that energy. Until next time, take care of your mind, take care of your body, and be safe.